Hello, hello. Welcome back for the next lesson. This lesson is going to be focused on the opposite of what we talked about in the last lesson, which is honoring your hunger. Now we'll be switching gears into respecting your fullness. So, in the last lesson, I told you that if you were at an 8 through 10, you are likely to pick up anything you can get your hands on that is edible and not only eat, but you're probably going to eat more than what you anticipated or what you typically do because you're in a state of fight or flight and you're going to eat so quickly that you don't give your body the time to connect the signals and allow yourself to know, I'm full. You're going to overeat if you're at an 8 or a 10. So, respecting your fullness is the same. We work on the same type of scale we do with hunger. 1 and 10. 10 being I am stuffed and I can no longer put anything in my mouth. Like, this is to the point where you are already sick and you are staring down your plate, maybe breathing heavy. Maybe you have the meat sweats. We've all been there before. I love food, and sometimes it is hard to push the plate away. So, with that said, we're working on the same scale. And remember, in last lesson, I told you a 7 or 8 is when you should start eating. Same scenario with the fullness scale. We want to push our plate away when we are at a 7 or an 8. Now, if I can reflect in my own life what I've experienced with my fullness scale, if I have a busy day and I'm running around town, I stop in for lunch, maybe I don't have anything in the refrigerator for dinner. I don't have anything planned for the week. I am so busy that day, I don't know when I'm gonna have another chance to sit down and eat. When I sit in front of my plate and start to eat, because I have an instability with not knowing my next meal, it is likely I will eat more and I will push myself past a 7 or an 8. For some reason, psychologically, that's what happens. We have a food insecurity, even though we have access to food. Because we don't know when the next meal is or we don't have plans around it, it's likely we'll eat more because maybe we'll have an exhausting afternoon. The important thing to know when you are honoring and respecting your fullness is knowing you can push your plate away at any time and return to the meal. Hear that again. You can push your plate away at any time and know you can come back to it at any time. We live in an abundant society where we have shelves at the grocery store stocked and full. We have food and restaurants on every corner. We need to take a breath and know we can return to our plate. So, the same way I gave you signals for your hunger, you will start to experience signals with your fullness. Something I like to practice when I'm eating is, let's say I sit down for a meal. It is good to give yourself 20 minutes of relaxation. Sitting down in a comfortable environment, not driving, eating Chick-fil-A, one hand, steering wheel. No, ma'am. That is not a healthy and relaxing way to eat. And you want to be relaxed when you eat because the more relaxed you are when you eat, the more nutrients you can absorb into the body because the body doesn't know if you're fighting traffic or if you're running from a bear. And if you're running from a bear or fighting traffic, all the blood flow goes to your extremities and it pulls away from digestive activity. So if you are stressed while you're eating, You're not even getting all the nutrients you need, baby, okay? So when you sit down to eat, carve out 20 minutes. At mark 10 minutes, it is good to push the plate away. Take a breather for a minute. Put the fork down. Take a couple of breaths. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It can literally just be you're just being, your food's in front of you, you take a little break, and then return back to eating your food. This way, you're going to give your body time for the food to run down to the stomach and for the stomach to send signals back up to the brain that you are full. Things you can experience when you start to get full. We all know it. We go from I'm hungry to I'm not so hungry. Okay, I'm satisfied and I'm full. You want to fill up about 80%. You want to leave a little wiggle room in the stomach. You do not want to eat until you're 100% full, because story from last night, I went to watch the Super Bowl. I ordered a buffalo chicken sandwich. I was so dang hungry. I inhaled the food. I was wearing jeans. By the time I finished my sandwich and Rihanna got off the stage, I was so uncomfortable. I went home. My jeans were I was so full that my jeans that I typically fit in were too tight. I was miserable and I went home. You might have experienced this in your life. When you eat too much, it gets really uncomfortable and makes it really hard to be in social settings, or even can be hard to fit in your own clothes. Respecting your fullness is important so that you can you can leave your food feeling light and energized. That's the goal. We don't want to feel bogged down or heavy after eating a meal. We want to, excuse me, we will burp. I also just had lunch. Today was a wonderful example of how I typically practice. I left a lot of food on my plate, but I also left feeling really satisfied and light and energized. And now I feel great. I feel wonderful, and I have a to-go box I can come back to later if I get hungry again. I want this for you. So let's recap. 1 to 10, 1 being I'm kind of hungry, and 10 being I am so stuffed I could throw up. I want you to stop eating when you're at a 7. I want you to take a half time at about minute 10. Push the plate away for a minute. Let your food digest. I hope this helps. Remember the cues. Start to feel a tight tummy, tighten the clothes. And you're ultimately going to know when you're satisfied with your meal. You just have to listen to the body. I hope this lesson helped. Stay tuned for the next one.